Imagine standing on the walls of a medieval fortress, hearing the distant sound of an approaching army. Suddenly, a massive stone projectile soars through the air, crashing into the castle walls with terrifying force. This was the power of the trebuchet, a weapon so magnificent it is still used today in revolutions and the Israeli army. But how did this incredible machine come to be? And what role did it play in some of the darkest chapters of medieval Europe? The origins of fortifications are hard to trace, but humanity has defended its settlements long before the rise of cities. For centuries, castle walls had no effective countermeasures until the late Middle Ages. Around the 5th century BC, China introduced a simpler, gravity-based siege machine. This concept spread from China to nomadic tribes, who later used it against Byzantium's walls in the 5th century. While not destructive enough to breach the fortifications, the Byzantines saw its potential and spread it across Europe. At first glance, the potential of a trebuchet might seem underwhelming. For instance, if you build one with a 4-meter swing arm and a 100-kilogram counterweight, it might only launch a brick 50 paces, hardly a formidable siege weapon. Early trebuchets were more effective for demoralizing civilians than for breaching walls. However, they were relatively easy to construct with the right skills. Everything changed in the High Middle Ages. As fortresses and castles became more common, the need to overcome them grew. A fortress typically refers to a military complex enclosed by walls, while a castle is a smaller, fortified residence for a feudal lord. Contrary to popular belief, most walls were just under 6 meters high. Ironically, the grandest castles with towering walls were built near the end of the Middle Ages when their strategic importance was already waning. Massive trebuchets were among the earliest means of wall destruction. If knights were the tanks of the Middle Ages, trebuchets were akin to aircraft carriers, not in function of course, but rather in size and cost. These machines were not mass-produced. Each required a formidable investment of resources. Modern experiments suggest that constructing a large trebuchet would take 10 craftsmen about 30 days. These siege machines were transported in pieces and required 3 days to assemble, with a crew of 13 men to operate them. Moving several tons of materials by horse was a logistical challenge, but the weight was crucial. For example, a trebuchet with an 8-ton counterweight could launch a 100-kilogram projectile up to 200 meters. A 400-kilogram projectile would travel only a few dozen meters, while a 40-kilogram one could reach 300 meters. Stone is a dense material, so a 100-kilogram granite block measures just 35 centimeters on each side. A cubic meter of stone weighs between 2 to 3 tons, making these projectiles heavy, yet relatively small. The velocity of such projectiles was low, making it unlikely for a single shot to penetrate a well-built fortress wall. Creating a breach required dozens of hits in the same spot, relying on luck and the consistency of the projectiles, which needed to be of the same mass and shape. The trebuchet's effectiveness as a wall-battering weapon was brief, peaking from the 12th to the late 13th century. By the 14th century, stronger fortifications had made trebuchets increasingly obsolete. Further increases in trebuchet size became impractical, if not impossible. While still in use during the 14th century, trebuchets were mainly employed to destroy internal buildings rather than breach walls. Occasionally, they were used to hurl captured messengers, spies, or even fragments of defenders back into the castle. The trebuchet's dominance ended with the advent of cannons. By the 16th century, cannons weighing just 1.5 tons, 10 times lighter than a trebuchet, could fire 130-kilogram cannonballs up to 200 meters with much higher velocity. Some massive cannons could even launch half-ton projectiles up to 500 meters. One significant incident involving siege machines had a profound impact on European history. In the early 14th century, droughts and other disasters drove rodents closer to human settlements, contributing to the outbreak of the plague in Asia. Nomadic peoples who spread technologies from east to west also unwittingly spread the plague. Due to their isolated lifestyle and limited contact with rodents, nomads likely suffered less from the plague than sedentary populations. Medieval author Gabriele de Mussi records a conflict between the Genoese and the Horde in Crimea, where the Genoese Republic had possessions. In 1346, a siege took place that would play a crucial role in the spread of the plague into Europe. During the siege, the Khan's forces used stone throwers to launch the bodies of plague victims over the fortress walls. Although the siege ultimately failed and the Khan retreated, Genoese trade continued, with the plague's incubation period lasting up to 12 days and the disease being carried by ship rats as well as people. The plague soon spread westward from Crimea. Over the next 7 years, it would decimate 30 to 60% of Europe's population. It's believed that a few volleys from these siege machines caused more deaths than an atomic bomb would. However, this theory is based on a single written source and research into the disease's spread, so it remains speculative. The trebuchet was more than just a machine of war. It was a testament to human ingenuity and the relentless drive to overcome any obstacle. But as powerful as these machines were, they couldn't stop the march of progress. With the arrival of cannons and gunpowder, the trebuchet's time as the king of siege warfare was over. Yet its legacy lived on, not just in the ruins of castles and fortresses, but in the way it shaped the course of history, whether by breaking down walls or, as in the case of Kaffa, by spreading the plague that would devastate a continent. As we look back on these medieval marvels, it's a reminder of how technology, for better or worse, has always been a double-edged sword, capable of both destruction and unintended consequences.